I'm hurt, dog. Don't ask me if I'm all right. Hell no. Joaquin said dominate, and we not doing it. I put my heart in this, dog. Let's go, man.
We are here. We are here. Welcome to the Coach's Huddle. It's your boy, the Coach, where the field meets family, and it's the Coaches Meeting. I got my man with the plan. We go back like JanSport backpacks. Grant Cohn, what's up, Ig? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
I'm feeling good, man. We got some topics to get into. The season is over, but we still have a lot ahead of us. The San Francisco 49ers have just gotten off an abysmal season, and they're looking to bounce back, okay? And there's a couple of things that we have to get into, which are the playoffs. And not only the playoffs, but specific teams. We played the Bills, whatever. The Chiefs, friendly foes, all right? Eagles, we got our revenge, had our little Super Bowl with them last season. But the Commanders, the Washington Commanders seem to be overperforming, right? Playing outside of themselves. They've got a new ownership group. They got a new coach, even got a new quarterback. But they also have a new GM by the name of Adam Peters. All right. So let's get to it. Adam Peters was instrumental in helping the 49ers build one of the league's most talented rosters, but his reduced involvement may be affecting the team's ability to identify and develop talent in his absence. How much of an impact has his absence had, and in what areas is it most felt? Talk to me, Grant.
Well, I think a lot of people who don't see the Niners the way we do and like to push back will go to Adam Peters and be like, well, no one really knows what he did with the Niners. And he was involved with some really bad drafts, and he left, and the Niners instantly had their first good draft in a long time. And yeah, the Commanders had a good draft too, but what can you really point to show his impact? And I think where I would look is free agency, in the sense that the Niners had a very meek free agency. Like, they brought in a bunch of journeymen on the D-line. They re-signed John Feliciano. They brought in Isaac Yiadom, and they brought in Devondre Campbell, who's maybe the worst free agent signing of the year.
Right.
Meanwhile, Adam Peters in Washington signed Bobby Wagner, who had 132 tackles. He signed Jeremy Chin, who had 117 tackles. He signed Frankie Louvu, who had 99 tackles. He drafted Mike Sainristil, who was really good. I mean, he brought in a lot of impact players. And I think the Niners now, with John Lynch sort of running the show, I think it's probably clear that in the past he was leaning on Peters to make those recommendations in free agency. And now it's like the coaches. I mean, who the hell recommended Devondre Campbell? Kyle had ties to him. Who recommended Leonard Floyd? Brandon Staley had ties to him. So I really feel like the Niners are missing a general manager. Adam Peters was their assistant general manager, and now they don't have one. They have a good scouting department, but I think the general manager is like the guy who ties it all together. And to me, John Lynch is more of like a Kyle Shanahan mouthpiece, with all due respect.
Yeah. I mean, also, if you look at it, it's really the draft as well. I mean, let's just go ahead and put Jaden Daniels away. All right, cool. Second round pick, can't miss it. You pick your quarterback. He turned out to be a guy, whatever. But what they're getting out of guys like Jerzon Newton, right? Mike Sanderstill, the cornerback, that they're getting production out of their rookie class, right?
These are guys. Detroit? They collapsed the pocket. They got pressure right in Jared Goff's face. I mean, you got to give Adam Peters credit for that. He drafted a defensive tackle in round 2 last year. The Niners haven't taken a defensive tackle since Kalia Davis.
I mean, don't look now, but in round 3, look at what Luke McCaffrey is doing in round 3. I mean, can we look at the production of Luke McCaffrey? And I understand injuries play a part, but I'd say Luke McCaffrey and Ricky Pearsall is pretty much a wash as far as talent is concerned. And they found that value in the 3rd round. Also, one thing about Adam Peters that I know We're not going to see it immediately, but it could show itself in future years, is the development of younger players late in the draft. That's one thing, we don't know exactly. We don't know Adam Peters' full involvement on how much credit he gets for being a Brock Purdy guy, but you got to think he had his hand in on it to be able to bring in a guy like Brock Purdy. Also, being able to be respected around the league to make deals mid-season. That's another big get that I believe that, John Lynch finalizes the deal and he may pick up the phone, but it's Adam Peters who actually gets the plan, who builds the infrastructure of what we should be going after. Certain guys that could be brought into the organization, especially not only during the season, but throughout the offseason. So, hey, listen, I'm in the greater Washington, D.C. area, and I'm going to tell you now, I'd let everybody know who would listen that you guys are back because you have one of the most talent evaluators and GMs in the league. Like, you guys are going to be good for a long time. And it's showing out right now. I mean, they're in the NFC Championship game in his first year with a rookie quarterback. I mean, that's unprecedented. Well, have we seen anything like this?
No, you haven't. And I just think it's so interesting. Like, through the years, we've been trying to look at Kyle and John. Like, how good are you guys individually? I mean, Kyle on his staff, he had Saleh and D'Amico at the same time. So people have said, hey, Kyle, you're not necessarily a head coach. You're more of a coordinator. Yeah, but he had so many head coaches on his staff that the Niners had head coaches. And now all those guys are gone, and we're looking at Kyle like, okay, now it's more on you. And same with John. Like, you had a general manager in your back pocket helping you out, and now he's gone, and he's clearly a good general manager. He doesn't need you. Washington's doing really well. They just went from 4 wins to 12 wins, but you need something because the Niners are in a bit of a tailspin, and they can blame it on injuries all they want, but we see that there is something dysfunctional about their team, from the prolonged contract negotiations to the drama, to the infighting, to the finger pointing. Something seems wrong with this team. And again, I think a general manager kind of ties an organization all together. Right now, it's just the Kyle Shanahan show from top to bottom, with John Lynch trying to put a good face on it at 6 wins.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, I feel like John Lynch's resume, his character as a human being, stellar, right? And I think that's part of the problem when we start looking at job performance. On top of the fact that it's hard to really assess John's performance when Kyle is the one who hired John. Right. So in some retrospects, how are you ever going to look at John's job from an individual standpoint if we're basically John can always pull out the trump card that, well, I work at the behest of Kyle. So really, This is just me going to go get the groceries, quite honestly. Right. Like, I'm not putting together anything.
And real quick, I just want to point out the last 4 teams that are alive in the playoffs right now, they all have strong general managers. I don't think we would consider John a strong general manager. I think he's sort of a face for the head coach who's making most of the final decisions. But Buffalo has Brandon Beane, strong general manager. Kansas City has Brett Veach. Washington has Adam Peters. Philly has Howie Roseman. Maybe the Niners should consider bringing in like a strong general manager. They can keep John Lynch, but someone who actually has an extended experience in personnel, work their way up from the bottom the way Adam Peters did.
Definitely. It's time for my biggest thing is that they're John and Kyle are in tandem. So they need to split that up if they really want to start.
GM would be like bringing in Lumberg into your office.
I mean,
you know what I mean? It's like bringing in the outsider to sort of just watch everyone. Like, it probably wouldn't work, but that's what they need.
But it's what we need, though. Yeah. And I think bringing in a GM that is not linked to Kyle actually starts bringing in some process where you can have a GM that says, you know what, I understand your offense. And yes, me and you, we work in collaboration to bring the best players to this offense. However, I am going to get fired. Like, I got hired by the owner, bro, and we need an O-line. And I'm going to push for us to start getting O-linemen. And then you do what you need to with the players that we have. And, like, we can have that conversation, too. And there's a lot of teams that do that. I mean, look at Howie Roseman and what the Eagles do. Howie Roseman he brings in the process of what the Eagles look like. He's the guy that says, no, we're doubling down on the draft and on defense. And that's not a conversation where Nick Sirianni is like leading that conversation. He's in the room, right? But Howie Roseman and ownership and their developmental staff that's all embedded in the organization, they're the ones who lead that match. I just feel like having your head coach have that much power, sometimes it leads to a point where nobody can bring anything to shift, right, to help us start adapting. I do feel like we're very one note. So we need a O lineman.
I agree. And I think just look at free agency last year. A lot of people like to look at the Niners draft. It was a nice draft. It was a very good draft, especially if Ricky Pearsall continues the trajectory he was on at the end of the year. But free agency was a failure. It was a straight up failure. You cut Eric Armstead and then replace him with someone who's worse than him and Malik Collins. You got a bunch of journeymen that you shouldn't be paying on the defensive line because you haven't been drafting the position. You signed Devondre Campbell.
This is a great segue into our next topic.
Let's talk about it. Yeah, thank you.
Let's get some super chats out the way and then get into it.
Yeah.
All right. Joseph Farrell, Jed power playing Salah into the organization and trading Kyle next year after coming short in the playoffs is a dope thought. Leadership matters, and I wouldn't hold it against Rob for taking what's his. Kind of foreshadowing some of our topics today. Also, Too Much Sauce, $2. Thank you. Should Trent have been selected first team All-Pro? He made first team All-Pro this year?
No,
he didn't.
No, he didn't. I think it was Mailata. And no, he shouldn't have even been in the Pro Bowl. And I wonder if the reason the Niners didn't officially shut him down until like week 17 or week 18, I think they did it after the Pro Bowl voting was over, which is kind of, if you think about it.
Crazy. Let's get into our next topic.
Anyway, I don't want to talk about it.
No, go.
It's like you held on to a roster spot for all those weeks for a guy who wasn't going to play just so he could get Pro Bowl votes. Like, come on. Where are your priorities? I mean, I know you're not going anywhere, but like, fake it.
Hey, man, best foot forward for the Niners, man. They got to fake it till they make it. Stay down until you come up. Next topic. Offseason mistakes the 49ers cannot afford. Every offseason is crucial, but for a team looking to rebound, such as the Niners, certain mistakes could prove catastrophic. Whether it's mishandling contracts, botching the draft and certain picks, overreaching in certain aspects, or neglecting positional needs, the 49ers have no margin for error. What should they prioritize to ensure success? What did you see last year, Grant, coming into the season, particularly over the offseason, that was a clear no-no, where it's like, this is a red flag and the Niners will not have success this season because of this?
Well, in retrospect, like, there's that old adage, you're either getting better, you're getting worse, you never stay the same. And the Niners tried so hard to tread water last offseason. They started off by getting rid of Armstead, who, sure, he's getting older and breaking down, but he was so important to them in the past. And you try to replace that impact with, marginal players for cheap, 1-2 year deals, guys other teams don't really want. And I think we asked about, they made these moves, and you go to the owners' meetings and you ask Kyle, like, so that's it? Like, that's the best you got? And he's like, whoa. I mean, we were just in the playoffs. I mean, we were just in the Super Bowl. It's really hard for us to get better. We're just trying to not get worse. And we're pretty sure we didn't get worse. It's like, no. You're either getting better or you're getting worse. And if you're telling us you didn't get better, then you got worse. And they got significantly worse. And so the strategy of like, let's just maintain what we have and sort of fill in around the edges with journeymen, I don't think that worked. I don't think they should do that anymore. And I know that they're not one player away, but they also are losing impact players. They used to have 9. Now that it's like, I think 3 or 4. They need to bring in someone really good. And he can't be like, well, we got him for 2 years. Like, no, this should be a 3-4 year contract to someone that a lot of teams want, and you got him. And I don't know if they have the cap space for it, but they got to figure it out. Otherwise, they're going to be mediocre at best next year.
Yeah. And I agree. And free agency is something where, when it gets to the money, for me, I'm always torn because I'm always player first, like in that if a guy deserves his money, he should get paid. There's a short amount of time that these guys have to make this amount of money, and the teams make tons of it. So, but then at the same time, I also look at the cap and how things lay on the cap, and sometimes things just aren't smart to do if you want to be a winning organization. And there's an algorithm to doing things a certain way fiscally. For me, it's camp. They cannot have the same camp that they had last season. It's just a couple of things. So let's get into it. Number one, they didn't necessarily have a full boat as far as linemen were concerned going into camp. And that's something that they have to prioritize on both sides of the ball. Case in point, on the first day of pads, they didn't even have enough offensive linemen to run one-on-ones for a certain indie period. They couldn't even get through team periods at times because the defensive line seemingly had what would be starters and their first and second string guys who were going through camp. And we couldn't even field an offensive line enough to get Brock a look. So we weren't really seeing a lot of work from the pass rush or the defensive line. And we wouldn't even have known anything about that had we had more people in for camp. They just didn't prioritize it. And I'm not talking about necessarily going first round, swinging big for the fences. No, dude, go out and get some veterans. Be first in line to go pick up some veteran guys that can get you through a strong camp and some guys that you can have to be able to get you through a season. You know, also, they need to also have joint practices, you know. I don't know what is going on as far as the injuries are concerned, but we missed joint practices this camp. We were supposed to have joint practices with the Saints, I believe, and we skipped those practices. That's another misnomer that it's more of a gauntlet, and it's almost kind of like a barometer throughout camp to let you know you're going in the right direction. They need to have joint practices this year. The energy at camp, actually finishing certain periods. You know, I didn't like the energy of certain guys. Also, dude, they have got to emphasize special team periods during camp. Like, Grant, if there has ever been a foregone conclusion during camp, it is those damn special teams periods. That is like the water break of camp. Am I not lying, bro? Sure. Where special teams periods comes up and it's like, all right, we can get a water. I can kind of get a new notepad, kind of talk a little bit, bullshit to the guy next to me because they're just kicking the ball and they're just running around doing a little bit of the kickoff, a little bit of punt return. Everybody else is kind of getting watered up, getting ready for the last team period, or they either do special teams at the very end of practice where nobody's really involved, nobody cares, and they're just walking off. And we look like it. Throughout the entire season, they did not prioritize special teams. So those are my biggest things. And then also, just to kind of piggyback off of you talking about free agency and getting these guys signed, I think now, after the offseason that we had, if they don't understand how important it is to have everybody in the building for the start of camp, I don't know what else.
Like, if you don't, then it just sets the tone for everyone who is there. Like, this isn't really important. Like, because our most important players don't have to come and they have their reasons, and you guys are here because you're not quite as good as them, but like, this doesn't matter. It's just the whole wrong tone. I'm totally with you on that. Like, that was one of the biggest, you just made your training camp like vacation. That's essentially the tone you set. So you can't do that anymore. I just want to reiterate real quick. So the Niners could, go out and sign a bunch of nobodies while the Rams are probably going to target T. Higgins. And they're already better than the Niners. And then the Cardinals have, I don't know that Niners know this, or Niner fans know this because no one knows about the Cardinals, but they have more than $70 million in cap space. And they're going to have Kyler for another year. And they don't know what to do. And they're going to probably go and sign like an edge rusher or a few players. So, stand pat, tread water at your own peril. You got to find a way to get better. And it's not just for the second season in a row, year in a row, giving all your money to your own players. It's not good enough. I mean, for context, the Commanders have $96 million in cap space with a rookie quarterback.
Yeah. And they're in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
They got money to blow.
Well, how are you going to make up that ground? By re-signing Dre Greenlaw? That's it? I don't think so. Sorry, Dre.
And don't look now, but the Commanders could offer Dre Greenlaw a 3-year deal and say, hey, man, we believe in you. We know what you are.
Correct.
Come over here. Correct. You know what I mean? And that's much better. That's a much
obviously they need to draft a lot better because they need guys on rookie deals. But still, I think they need to, if you're gonna get into the free agent market, don't sign 4 guys who make no impact and come back and tell your friends that you got a good deal at Goodwill. Like, go get a player who's actually gonna make an impact and be in a Pro Bowl, be an all-pro player. You know what I'm saying?
You got a good deal at Goodwill.
Money away.
That's a bar. You got a good deal of goodwill. Let's get a super chat out the way. Sean Shepard, $10. Thank you. Grant, your quality control is slipping. Brandon Staley is our new DC. Wow, we are done. We are just watching Kyle turn into Gollum. His precious is his system. Brandon Staley, the new doormat. Hey, we'll talk about that pretty soon. Hopefully that's not the new normal, because that would be bleak.
I still think the Niners are going to get Salah. I think the Niners are going to get Salah. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I believe that they're close to it, especially with the money involved. It's like he doesn't. One of the things that I saw from Coach Salah is that all of that like personality stuff, where he's really personable and likes to have leads with compassion. That stuff wears out when you're losing. You know what I'm saying? And it's tough and it wears on you. And also, he visibly looked exhausted.
Yeah.
We just said, he looked exhausted. So we'll go there. Yeah. Dennis McCray, $4.99. Grant, where is Cohn phone, man? I need to go off on the 49ers. Yo, you got to do the Cohn phone, dog.
Hey, say less. I'll bring it back later this week. I got you. Say less.
Bet.
Dennis. But put on some clothes next time and get out of bed. Dennis McCray called in like with like the covers over his shirt, like leaning on the pillow.
Oh, like, come on. Nah, we ain't doing that. We ain't doing that. This is a family show, man. Chill out, brother. Jason Lutz, $5. Biggest team flaw is the run it back culture from coaching to players. It's the literal definition of insanity. Shuffling coaches is not going to fix it. So is this your pushback on Robert Saleh?
It's ultimately their culture. It's the culture. Yeah. And I guess it's an argument against bringing him back, because it's a look toward the past, not the future. And
for sure.
I don't know. All the journalism out here, to me, is all reinforcing the run it back. Like, no, this team is really good. The Chiefs just get all the calls. The Niners have bad luck. Like, don't overreact. I think it's ridiculous. And I wonder if the Niners actually won one of those Super Bowls, if they would have been more open to like moving on from some of these people and not doubling down and doubling down and doubling down, because they would have proven it. But they haven't.
True. All right, brother. New topic. New schemes to freshen 49ers stale approach. Critiques across the league.
Wait. Can we talk about, can we stick with free agency for a little bit and talk about like a player that we think they should sign? Because that would be fun, since I just told them they need to sign one. I think it would be a natural segue. I'm just saying,
natural
it's your show.
Segue. Is it my show?
Natural segue to a player they should
you're that. Hold on. You can't be the guy. Hold on. Let me get at you real quick. You can't be the guy that says, this is going to sound disrespectful, but, and then you disrespect me. You can't say it's your show and then tell me to get to a topic.
I was politely, respectfully suggesting that we go from one free agency topic to the next. But if you don't want to, that's cool. I defer.
Grant, I was using that as an example, bro. I'm not saying that you're disrespecting me. Swing big or fill the depth. So let's go. Should the 49ers target a marquee free agent to address the glaring needs, or focus on spreading their cap space to fill multiple depth positions? So let's get to it.
Well, you know how I feel. I think they should have a big swing here, and they've been linked.
Drop the name. You've been talking about it.
No, they've been linked so far to DJ Reed, who is a good player. PFF has him as the 6th best free agent this year. He was with Salah in Detroit. Excuse me, with the Jets. And he's 28 years old. He's a hell of a cornerback. The Niners drafted him. They could probably afford him. I think they should go bigger, though. But I like DJ Reed, although he is a 28-year-old corner, and you wonder about corners reaching 30. I mean, they fall off quick. So I don't know. Do you want to discuss DJ Reed first? Like, he's definitely linked to the team. He might have a chip on his shoulder because they waived him, but maybe he can come back if Salah comes here.
No, so this is my thing. I know what you're going to get to, right, as far as your player is, so I'm not going to step on your take. However, the reason why I wanted you to go is because I have a player that I think that they should go after that is in the same position as DJ Reed.
Okay. So look, I'll go first.
Yeah.
We know that the Niners seem to be interested in DJ Reed, probably a 3-year, $40 million contract that they could afford. If they wanted to go big, like 3 years 60, 4 years 80, like the Javon Hargrave deal that didn't work out so well, I would be interested in going after Kansas City Chiefs guard Trey Smith. He's the 2nd best free agent on the market according to Pro Football Focus. And the reason the Chiefs might not be able to bring him back is because they have spent a lot of money on other offensive linemen. Creed Humphrey, Joe Tooney, Jawan Taylor. They may not be able to afford him. He is a freaking stud. And I don't expect the Niners to sign him because they haven't spent a ton of money on a guard since John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan have been here. But I mean, the Rams went out and signed Jonah Jackson last year. The Chiefs have spent big money on Joe Tooney. There's no rule that says you can't spend a lot in a guard. And I think every single position on the offensive line is important. All 5. And if you could get another guy to complement Trent Williams and Dominic Pooney, why not? Anyway, that's who I would go for.
All right. So look, I see that, but I also feel like that would be kind of already paying big money on somebody where you can find a Trey Smith-like talent in the draft. I believe that. So, but I feel that though. I love this. I love to swing big.
Sure.
I think we should swing big as well. Javon Holland, safety out of the Miami Dolphins.
High school. It's my high school.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take DJ Reed. All right. I would take Javon Holland. I would go after him. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent leaving the Miami Dolphins. And for me, our biggest issue is that we haven't had a true. When's the last time we had a true free safety? We haven't had a free safety since like Jimmy Ward, honestly. And he was already like a utility guy. I think bringing in Javon Holland, matching him up with, all right, obviously we would let Huff go, but bringing in Javon Holland and matching him up with Malik Mustafa, we finally answer that question. We get a true free safety that can take up the deep middle third, come down and be great at run support, which Javon Holland is. He can run. He's a veteran. He's young. And he could play really good with Malik Mustafa, and Malik Mustafa can play free. I wouldn't be mad at a Javon Holland pickup. I wouldn't. What do you think about that?
I'm surprised you said that. I like the Javon Holland suggestion. I think signing a safety is always smart because they're cheaper than corners. And you could argue they're just as important or more because they're in the middle of your defense. You can't avoid them. If you have a really good corner, you could throw the other way all freaking day if you had to. But a safety is right there, and he's critical in run support. And the Niners are super freaking soft in the middle of their defense from D tackle to linebacker to safety. So if they don't bring back Hufanga, and I'm not sure they will because he's been hurt so much, just elevating Jair Brown to the starting spot isn't necessarily the move because he was so bad this year. So yeah, if they could get Javon Holland, again, I think they could probably afford him. Safeties aren't super expensive.
But this is my thing, so we can go 2 for then. So look,
and he's way younger than DJ Reed. He's the number 3 free agent according to Pro Football Focus.
I'll tell you this. Not only that, though, if we do Javon Holland, right, he's not going to be Trey Smith expensive, right? But if we're going to have a little bit of money, what we could do is go out and get Drew Dahlman from Atlanta. Their safety. I mean, their center. Yeah. And I would much rather, I'd take a free agent center, somebody that already has kind of like the youth out of his game and he can take on Kyle's offense, understand the blocking schemes. And I think that bringing in a good center honestly, in my opinion, the only reason why Aaron Banks is at left guard is because Jake Brindle is so bad. Like, he almost makes Aaron Banks looks comparable. Like, and I'm going to tell you, if you bring in a better center, you can find and we can let Aaron Banks walk at left guard. True. Right? Because we already got Dominic on the right-hand side. And develop someone. And like you can, with yes.
And if you look at the Eagles, who are like the gold standard of offensive line, I mean, they don't really go out and pay for it in free agency. They drafted Mailata. They drafted Dickerson. They drafted Jurgens. They drafted Lane Johnson. They went out and got Mekhi Becton off the scrap heap. And the same thing on their defensive line. Those are really expensive positions to get in free agency. So
putting Mekhi Becton at that,
give Javon Hargrave $80 million is probably because you drafted really poorly and drafted Javon Kinlaw. Like, you don't want to be in that position. You'd much rather be like constantly drafting these trench players and keeping the ones who might be really special, which the Niners don't do.
Yeah. Putting Mekhi Becton at right guard was a huge move.
Genius.
Huge move. Like taking him off tackle and just saying, hey, man, just be physical. Use your size. We're going to put you at guard. Like, great move. Let's get into the next topic, bro.
Right? Whereas the Jets spent a first-round pick on him and tried to have him play offensive tackle. Didn't work.
Crazy.
I like your Javon Holland suggestion. Didn't see it coming. Went to my high school. Wouldn't be super expensive. I think it's a great suggestion.
I think it's
they're not going to get Trey Smith.
No. And if they do, they're going to overpay for him. Right?
Correct.
If they do, the money's going to be so crazy he can't say no.
And how many former Chiefs are the Niners going to try to get? You know what I mean? D Ford, Travarius Ward. Like, there's a reason the Chiefs are like probably not bringing him back, and that's the best organization. So you're betting on the Chiefs being wrong.
Yeah, 100%.
Like the Titans tried that with L'Jarius Sneed. How'd that go?
I don't really feel it, man. I think we should bring in a good safety.
I like it.
That'll handle a lot of problems that we have in the back end. Yeah, and honestly, what you said is that, I mean, I believe you said this, but the biggest issue with them is that the middle of their entire team, not just on offense but defense, like from guards to linebackers to safeties.
I got another name because I love free agency stuff. How about? I mean, there's so many linebackers, man. Nick Bolton, Bobby Wagner, Ernest Jones, Zach Bond. I mean, Levante David. Because if you don't get Dre Greenlaw back, you need 2 linebackers. So yeah, definitely draft one, but sign one. Nick Bolton, Bobby Wagner, Ernest. How about Ernest Jones? Zach Bond was great for Philly this year.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that they could do, but my biggest thing right now is that they've got a strike. The biggest thing with the Niners is that we just wait. You know, even though we had the free agency that we had last season, Grant, one of the things is that I don't think they wanted to admit that they swung and missed on guys, and because they picked up everybody damn near at the end of free agency after everything had been gone. You know, so they got to be first. So I'll tell you this right now: if they don't make any noise, the most consistent. I would say Leonard Floyd. Leonard Floyd had 8 sacks this year, right?
Oh, that's true. That's true. I just didn't know. He got 8.5 sacks, and I'm like, I don't remember any of them. I can't name one of them.
He got him in chunks. Oh, yeah, he got it near the end of the season. Yeah. He got him in chunks. It wasn't consistent.
The run defense was so bad. It didn't seem like he made a difference, but you're right. He did his job.
Yeah. So he showed up.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into the next topic. Now we'll get into new schemes to freshen the 49ers' stale approach. No, you're good to go. Critics argue the 49ers' wide zone offense and wide 9 defense are becoming predictable. Last season, they attempted to incorporate fresh concepts like Brandon Staley's simulated pressures and his expertise. What new elements should the team explore to modernize their schemes and stay competitive on both sides of the ball? I know that you want to talk about the wide 9, so get into it.
Yeah. The wide 9, the Niners need to give us a good reason why they're sticking with it at this point. They brought it in 2019, and I think the thought process then at that point was like, all right, we have 4 first-round picks on the D-line in Bosa, Buckner, Armstead, Ford. Like, this can really supercharge all that talent and give them a little bit more space to work, and it's harder to double-team the edge guys. And anyway, you have to double team Buckner and Armstead in the middle, and it's going to free up Bosa and Ford on the edge. Like, that's kind of the thought process. Now it's like you don't have that talent in the defensive line, and so the wide 9 almost seems to be like making it worse than it is. Like, if you just have a bunch of bodies, then you kind of want to like group them together and have them work together so that there's not so much space in between them. And now, like, they're awful against their run. Their pass rush their 4-man rush is nothing special. You're like begging Nick Sorensen or whoever the defensive coordinator is to bring extra pressure and put 8 in the box to stop the run. I just don't understand what you're gaining from it. And unless they can add a bunch of first-round talent to that D-line now, I think they should probably consider scrapping it, because they're also looking for a defensive coordinator, and most guys wouldn't want to work with that. It just limits your options. And I don't understand why they need to do that at this point.
I agree. For me, it's the offensive line. They don't value it. They don't put any type of initiative into it. And quite frankly, I think that we ask questions when the truth is like literally staring us in the face. We're absolutely horrible in the red zone this season. And one of the reasons why we were bad in the red zone this season is that we didn't have Christian. Because Christian was basically, he was a space eater. He definitely was a great decoy in tight spaces down in the red zone. He was also a weapon himself, good in pass catching out of the backfield into the flat, whip routes, China routes, getting into shallow defenses and getting into shallow areas of the field. And he was just a cheat code. And also on top of the fact of opening up everybody else. And when you don't have that, then you kind of get back to the original sin of this offense. And that's how bad this offensive line is. And to be honest with you, the wrinkle that we need in this offense, if we didn't change anything with this offense, literally anything, meaning that Kyle called the same plays, all right, the same guys got on the field. If we just had a better offensive line, we would be immensely better as a team. As far as
Isn't
the red zone is concerned,
how much it can improve everything. You're like not just the quarterback, but the running back. Look at Barkley.
Look at what one good offensive lineman did for us. Like just a rookie, right? It
is like Philly. All of a sudden, Saquon Barkley. It's like, oh yeah, you really are a generational running back that everyone thought you were coming out of Penn State. Like, yeah, you're a Hall of Famer. Oh, right. It matters.
You are a once in a lifetime player.
Yeah. Hey, New York, what were you freaking thinking, man? Like, it's like the Giants couldn't figure it out with Barkley. The Colts couldn't figure it out with Andrew Luck. You have these generational talents. And all you needed was to take that one position seriously. And you didn't. You had him for 6, 7, 8 years.
Yeah. Right now, you got fullbacks that are making more than 4 starters on the offensive line collectively. You've got, come on, that's crazy.
Shouldn't be making more money than your right tackle. Juszczyk shouldn't be making more money than your center. These are veterans on their second contracts. No.
Come on, man. You can't have 2 receivers that add up to $50 million per a year, and these guys are making more money than your collective offensive line. Like, that just does not make sense. I
understand the Bengals paying like that because you don't run the ball and you want to throw the ball 40 times a game. So spend $50 million a year on your wide receivers and lose. But you want to throw the ball 27 times a game. So what are you spending all that money on receivers for? It puts too much pressure to pass. You really, your winning game script is running as much as possible. And you poured all your money into passing. Smart.
Yeah, I just don't understand that. And for the red zone, I'm tired of Kyle calling around the offensive line. Like, half of what he's doing where we don't understand why he's calling pass plays all the time is because we can't run. We cannot run. The reason why we are struggling in the red zone. Yeah. The reason why we're struggling in the red zone and that we can't close out drives is that we can't simply get in I formation, turn around, and give the ball to the running back without him getting blocked in the backfield. We cannot
one
block.
Of the dumbest things I've heard is that people are like, Mason isn't a goal line back. No, it's the offensive line. Are you kidding?
Right.
Put Mason in Philly. What do you think it would look like?
Yeah. Did
you know that Philly has Ty Davis Price and Trey Sermon? Did you know that?
They have them both?
Both.
They like tough runners.
Incredible.
Yeah. I mean, the guys were tough runners.
Like, those running backs didn't work. Well, let's try them over here with a good offensive line.
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing, and then honestly, you got to look at it like this. When Christian went off last year, let's hold on, man. I got a PSA. Hey, listen up, man. When Christian had his offensive player of the year performance, our offensive line was still trash. They were still bad. If you even look at the film, you could see Christian making them right, basically. Cutting on the dime, understanding exactly okay, we're going to run to Trenton George's side. Do you remember the time where we literally could not run to the right side? That was just not a thing.
The time, it was years.
Yeah, we just can't do it. And they have to start taking it seriously. They have to get a better right tackle. I'm serious. Cohn McKivitz is cool for what it's worth, but he's not a starter. All right.
Cohn McKivitz would maybe be a right guard for the Eagles, but he would never play tackle for that team.
The thing that's crazy about this is that Cohn McKivitz even knows that he's not a starter. You know why? Because he took the money. If Cohn McKivitz truly believed that he was a starter in the NFL, he would have looked at that $7 million and be like, this is a joke, right? This is a joke. He was happy to take that $7 million.
Breaking news. Breaking news from Adam Schefter. Buccaneers offensive coordinator Liam Cohn is taking himself out of the running for the Jaguars head coaching job to stay in Tampa on a new contract that will now place him amongst the highest paid coordinators in the NFL per sources. First off, instant reaction to that.
What does that mean for Robert Saleh?
Well, real quick, I just want to say, I want to applaud the Bucs for doing that. There absolutely is no salary cap on coaches. You can pay these coordinators as much as you want. I like that they just wrote a blank check. I mean, how much don't you think the Falcons wish they had done that to Kyle Shanahan in 2016? Like, you could give him $10 million to be an offensive coordinator. There's no rule against it. So good for them. It's nice to see a team have some continuity. This definitely means that Saleh's in play, because I think what this means is no one wants to work with Trent Baalke. Who would have freaking thunk? And so the question is, would Saleh want to? I think he might.
I think this also shows that Todd Bowles may be on the hot seat too. I think there's no way that you pay a coordinator that much if you're not looking at Todd Bowles to get up out of there pretty soon. So
one more thing. I think people are waiting around for Cliff Kingsbury. Even though he failed ultimately
with the Commanders.
Arizona, I think you look at like Kyler without Cliff, he's still kind of the same Kyler, inconsistent. Cliff goes to the Commanders. He's
Jaden Daniels.
He does such a good job. Maybe it's all Jaden, and maybe Cliff is the same Cliff, but I think teams might be looking at him and waiting around for him. I don't know how I feel about Cliff, because I thought he was the worst coach ever, and now I'm like, man, maybe I don't know football anymore. Maybe I
didn't think he was a coach at all. Did you see the what was that, the show where they like looked at his house inside of like the he lives like a Bond villain. Like, that's not a football coach's home.
No.
He lives in like a museum.
Coordinator's home. It's an offensive coordinator's home. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I was like, dude, this is like a serial killer. You don't have anything in there.
Right.
All right. So we're talking about some super chats out the way.
Saleh already in the show. I can't remember what we talked about.
No, we're about to get to it, bro.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, we definitely talked about it on the phone before we got on the show. Dennis McCray, 199. Grant.
You know what you did.
Oh, definitely. Slant Route 199. Thoughts on 49ers getting Ashton Jeanty in the first round? I wouldn't be mad at it. I would not be mad at it.
Do you think he's in like that CMC, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson?
I think he's special. I think he's a special player. And if you're going to pick at 11, you better go best available. And you better get something that can get on the field and be an automatic weapon. You get Ashton Jeanty on the field with Christian McCaffrey, right? And you all but kind of, say goodbye to Jordan Mason in a sense, right? But you get Ashton Jeanty and Christian McCaffrey.
Can't keep a running back healthy for more than 4 games. But yeah,
but that's the point, though, Grant. I hate to be bleak, but the point is that you need a super talented back to survive the fact that Kyle is just going to run you into the ground. I'm not here to say that Ashton Jeanty is going to be, a guy that we hang our hat on for 6 to 7 years down the road. What I'm saying is that this team, I believe what they have told me. This team is going to barely invest in offensive line. They're gonna overinvest in skill guys, right? You saw the interview with Coach Forrester when he was like, I like getting crappy offensive line. It was really weird that day when he was like, I like
because it makes him more important, because all of a sudden he's the valuable piece on the offensive line. But I do think
he's the Kasarik of the offense.
You've seen what these elite running backs can do for offenses. Barkley, Jacobs. And also you've seen what the Niners look like without an elite running back. They've made their runs under Kyle when a running back gets really hot, whether it was Mostert in 19, Debo in 21, or McCaffrey in 22 and 23. When a running back is super hot, the Niners are super hot. But if that's not a dominant part of their team, they could have all the receivers, all the pass rushers, the quarterback, and they're going to find ways to lose. I feel like that's what we've seen from them.
Right. And that's why I think an Ashton Jeanty pick would be great, because it would kind of fit into kind of the shock and awe, the front runnership of what the Niners do offensively. And if you're going to have a back that Kyle's just going to give the ball to and expect him to just, be his blankie, as he likes to describe Christian, then you might as well get the best back in the draft. You can worry about offensive line in the later rounds of the draft and still get good guys, right? But you at least, and then, what else, to be honest, in a real way, we need more young elite talent on our team. Like the names of Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Nick Bosa, Trent Williams, Deebo Samuels, like that stuff is kind of getting old, bro. Like we're like the name recognition of how much we love these players is cool, but you got to understand those players got here the same way the draft is going to happen a couple of months from now. So you got to replenish. So we need more youth. Like Diamond Lenore is a young guy coming up. Malik Mustafa's a young guy that I'm hanging my hat on coming up. You know, Dominic Pooney. But all these other guys, it's time for them to shape up and ship out. It is.
My only thing with the draft is because I'm really bad at it and it's hard and it's fun to try to dabble. My thing at this point is like, what would Howie Roseman do? Because I think he's pretty good. Now, he's not infallible, but would he take a running back in round 1? Probably not.
No,
he might take one in
D-line.
round 2. He might take one in round 2, but I think what he's shown is that he uses round 1 to constantly replenish the trenches, and he's good at it. The Niners aren't. They've drafted Mike McGlinchey and Javon Kinlaw and Solomon Thomas. So I think we're looking at those as the positions the Niners need to focus on. When they've tried to draft that in round 1, they've failed miserably. So what they got to do is not miss. If they could just get someone who's really good, regardless of position, that's the thing, because they could take a defensive tackle and completely blow it and get praise for at least addressing a need in the moment.
100%. Shady Luke 499. Jeff Stoutland is the best offensive line coach in the NFL. Look at Mailata's former rugby. I'm an Eagles fan, no bias. He's the best offensive line coach. I mean, Joe Bugle is a guy of mine. I like Coach Bugles, but Jeff Stoutland is also one of the best. I'll give you that, man.
Clearly.
Yeah. Shadow Vulcan, $2. Liam Cohen just pulled out of the Jags head coaching job. I mean, what does that mean for Coach Saleh, though, Grant? Do you think that he's close?
That means he's got a shot.
He's got a shot, right?
Looking at it, I don't think he's got a shot with the Cowboys. I think they're going to go with Brian Schottenheimer or Kellen Moore so they can keep Dak Prescott's system the same. I think the Raiders' job is so awful that I don't even know if Saleh would want to go there because you're probably going to fail. So I think someone like Pete Carroll, who's 73, could look at that as like, I mean, that's fine. It's end of my career. I could do it. Or Mike McCarthy on like a third chance type of deal. And then the Saints, I don't know. Kingsbury, McCarthy, I don't freaking know. But I think Saleh's got a chance with the Jaguars because clearly no one wants to work with Balky. Straight up. Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, it would just be up to Saleh if he's got the energy to run it back. If he feels replenished to say, hey, New York was rough, had a couple of months off, but I went in. And then you think about it, too. How many times are you going to be in head coaching contention where people will still see you as a viable candidate? Like Coach Saleh could actually
next year.
He may not be a candidate. So, one thing about head coaching positions is a lot of them get filled by guys who just can't say no to the opportunity. That's true too. Where it's not always where you Ben Johnson it up and you say no to the Commanders. Hey, Ben Johnson, how do you like it now?
He messed
How
up.
do you like being in Chicago versus? Come on, Ben Johnson.
He messed
up.
You
say no to
maybe it'll work out for him in Chicago. It's just it never works out for anyone in Chicago.
So you wanted to keep Taylor Heineke? That's what the hangup was? That's worse than Coach Wilkes being let go from Carolina because he wanted CJ Stroud.
Anyway.
Ben Johnson. You think you know somebody. Elvis Presley, 99 cents. Thanks, bro. This guy, $2. It's more than the damn O-line, respectfully. But it's pretty important. Boxing fan 4X, go 12 personnel and get Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren is definitely a big get. Let's get into another topic, Brody. Let's get right into it. Could Saleh be Kyle's replacement? If Robert Saleh returns as defensive coordinator and the 49ers still fall short due to Kyle Shanahan's leadership, could Saleh step in as his successor? Is Kyle inadvertently hiring the person who could replace him? And what would that mean for the team's future? Is it a Trojan horse, Grant? Let me know.
It's possible. I have all the respect in the world for Saleh. I think he's a legit leader. I think he's great schematically. But the thing with Saleh, I just don't feel like he's ever had a good answer for who is your offensive coordinator. And so if the 49ers were to fire Kyle at next year and bring in Saleh to replace him, who would be his offensive coordinator? It would probably be someone from the Kyle Shanahan tree. It's like, is that an upgrade? That's my only thing. Like, I love Robert Saleh, man. I love him. But that thing right there gives me pause from this whole thing. And if the Niners were to move on from Kyle Shanahan, you might need to like go in a different direction. Like a different direction. But I don't know. Wait, you tell me on Robert Saleh.
All right, this is the thing. You're not just bringing back Robert Saleh for the defense. You're bringing Robert Saleh back for the culture. You're bringing Saleh back for the spirit of your team. Let's be honest here, all right? Robert Saleh just was not a coach on this team where he just X and O'd it up, did his job, and, the team just, responded. No, Robert Saleh was the team's mascot in a sense, right? He was actually like their... Come on, man. And one of the biggest things is that what we recognized is that while Kyle was in his play sheet handling the game as an offensive coordinator, it was Robert Saleh who was galvanizing the sidelines on both sides of the ball, okay? So one thing about bringing back Robert Saleh is that there's a couple of things that I wanted to cover. One, he'll probably be the first coach that Kyle Shanahan hires that is impenetrable to being scapegoated. He can't get scapegoated. All right. Number one, Kyle, you're the guy who signed him for all of that money and brought him in. So basically, it's your responsibility. So if he fails, people will look at Kyle and say, all right, well, how bad can he be if you're the one who brought him back? And, if my memory serves me correctly, this was almost like a can't miss hire for you, all right, where you put all of your eggs in a basket. It's almost like Kyle is almost showing us how good he thinks Robert Saleh is by the fact that he's not looking for anybody else. He's literally just waiting on him, all right? So that's one. Two, how in the world, even if we go to the playoffs, right, let's say we go to the playoffs and the defense goes back to form, now the fans are definitely going to look at the offense if they don't perform, because if the defense bounces back and we go into the playoffs and say get bounced in the divisional route or even in the NFC Championship game, now no fans are going to turn their ire on Robert Saleh, who actually came back, brought us to form, put the spirit back into the team, gave the guys somebody to truly follow when he leads, and then ignore the offense once again. One of the only reasons why Kyle was able to get away from the years that he lost when Robert Saleh was here is because Robert Saleh was already gone to go get a head coaching job. So so there was no scapegoat. It was already we lost. Let's lick our wounds. Let's find somebody else that we can step in. D'Amico's going to be a good replacement. It's not going to go that way this time, especially if they lose, bro. It's going to be on the offense. And I'm going to tell you, the natural lateral move would be Robert Saleh. The lateral move. On top of the fact that with Robert Saleh there, the defense doesn't change, right? It stays in a wide nine, and you can keep the offense. It's already in the building. One of the biggest things about the organization is that they're going to be sold on Brock by that time. He's going to be paid. So the last thing they're going to do is move on from Brock and the offense that he's used to. So who gets fired first? The $60 million man quarterback or the head coach? It's the head coach, man. So I'm going to tell you, I really believe that Kyle could be signing his successor if Robert Saleh does take the DC job.
Possible. Be very interesting. Be careful, Kyle. Hey, could we do a little Bet US segment?
Of course. You ready?
All right. Yeah, let's check out the lines from this weekend's games, courtesy of Bet US. So we got Washington Commanders +6, Philadelphia Eagles -6. I think everyone's rooting for the Commanders. Am I wrong? I think everyone wants to see the Commanders win that game. Nothing against the Eagles, but the Commanders are a great story. They're like the Cinderella story.
I'm rooting for the
I don't know. I'm inclined to say Commanders +6.
The only thing about it is that I just feel like, first of all, they're familiar with each other. They know each other. And it's that offensive line. I think Saquon is just too much to handle. And then defensively, I know the Eagles are not the same, but I don't know, man. I just think the Eagles are maybe a little bit too much for them.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Still, I like that spread. It's a big one. And then the next one, Kansas City -1 over Buffalo. The word with Kansas City now is all about refs helping them. Do you buy it?
No.
I don't buy it either.
They were 15 and like, come on, dude. They lost. How many games did they lose this season? 2?
And like, and the numbers show that they're not being favored by refs at all in the regular season. That it's just happening in
those moments.
Games. So you're telling me that like the NFL has decided to not help them in the regular season, but when they get to the playoffs, that they all want the Chiefs to win? Like, why would that happen?
I don't know, man. I understand that like bang bang plays happen, but I don't know. You got to respect it, you know. But at the same time, they're squarely where they need to be, because this is how everybody felt about the Patriots. Remember? Like, nobody respected the Patriots rings when they were winning them. Now we do.
Just because teams were like, isn't it because people were tired of the Patriots? It's like, dude, it's been 15 years. Like, and then like, kind of like with Floyd Mayweather, people all across the country would tune into Mayweather fights to hope that
to see him lose. Yeah.
Right. And it wouldn't happen. And be like, oh man, damn it. But it's like, dude, what did you think was going to happen, man? Like this is a very carefully curated person and he's very good. He's not going to put himself in a position. Anyway, so like you see that with the Chiefs, like they've been the dominant team in the NFL for 5 years. People are freaking tired of them and they're kind of boring to watch because they don't have Tyreek anymore. So I think every time there's a 15-yard penalty, people are like scrutinizing it pixel by pixel, frame by frame. It's like, come on.
I will say from an offensive line perspective, though, they get away with some ridiculous holds. They hold a lot.
But like every team does, it's
egregious.
And like when the Bills do, no one talks about it. It's like, oh, there's this one play that it should have been called differently in a Bills game. Like no one cares. But if it's like it's the Chiefs 5 plays, all of them. Anyway, I'm picking the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are going to win this game.
Nah, I got the Bills, man. I think it's their year.
I want the Bills to win. I think we all want the Bills to win.
Yeah, but I think it's their year.
Did you know that BetUS also has a casino? Did you know that BetUS also has a casino? Did you know that? Because for all my followers who like slots and live casino dealers, it's true. So for all my followers who like slots and live casino dealers, take advantage of BetUS's amazing sign-up bonus, 200% sign-up bonus up to $5,000 or 250% for crypto sign-up bonus up to $5,000. Don't know exactly how the crypto one works, but I feel like people do. And we're talking live casino games. So check it out at BetUS.
Crypto bonuses at $5,000. Gee whiz. That sounds like a deal.
Hey, who am I? Golly. Who says that? Golly.
God, who says that? I'm going to feel bad when you say it. Who says it? Yeah,
Jesse.
He does.
Every show.
He does.
Every show.
Golly. Every show.
I love it.
Golly.
Golly. Anyway, thank you for checking out my BetUS segment.
Nah, 100%. Gotta love it.
Okay.
Grant, let's see. Let's get a couple. We got some super chats, Grant. Let's get some out the way. Let's go. Elvis Freshly. I love that name. Elvis Freshly, 199. Khalil Mack is a free agent. I don't know. I'm kind of over the retreads. Let's go get a guy in the draft.
Great player, but can you get some guys who are like 27?
Maybe. All day, every day, Kim, $2. Thank you. Robert's going to be in Florida.
Saleh?
I
just feel like that Jaguar job, I feel like he wants it more. I don't think people want the job. Liam, really top offensive coaches. Are they going to get Cliff Kingsbury? No. Are they going to get Joe Brady? Probably not. Not as long as they have Trent Baalke. So
hell no.
So maybe Robert Saleh is someone that they would like.
Hey man, right now it's not in the bag, and honestly, I think that everybody's kind of like sitting back and just waiting, because my biggest thing with Kyle is Kyle said specifically that it's really hard for him to interview and get guys in because of the late seasons in the postseason, and most of the candidates are either hired or already started a process with the team. My question right now is like, my man, you're not waiting for anybody that's playing right now with any of the teams right now. Dan Quinn and Sean McDermott are defensive coaches. They're good to go. You said no to Vic Fangio, and Scangarello has said hell no. So there's no way that you're waiting for anybody that's in the playoffs right now, and you've only interviewed 2 people in, and it's about to be freaking February. So what are we doing?
Respectfully, because it's your show.
Go.
Week. Hey, before we finish, I've been so excited. Can we talk about college quarterbacks for like 5 minutes and then we'll stop?
Oh, yes. Let's go.
I would like to. I'm excited.
You want to go first?
So, yeah, I just wanted to say, like, to me, I think quarterback is a need for the Niners, even if they do sign Brock Purdy to a big extension, because he's the only quarterback they have under contract, and he's gotten injured. And a lot of the Niners quarterbacks get injured. So I'd like to see him draft a quarterback, and I wouldn't be against him doing it in round 2. I don't expect him to do it in round 2, but I think it's something Howie Roseman would do. He drafted Jalen Hurts like a few months after extending Carson Wentz.
Right.
Anyway, we can talk about it another time. Let's do it next week. The
Let's do it next week. Also,
yes.
I got a rookie that I really like, the quarterback out of Ohio State. I know Ohio State quarterbacks have a stigma.
I got a quarterback that I really like too, but it's a secret. It's a secret until next week.
All right, bro.
Sorry.
Hey, Grant.
I was going to tell you.
Great. Hey, another good show, brother.
Good show, man.
Talk to you, man. Holla at you. Peace.
Yep.